Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what's the most fucked up thing the US government has done? The Trail of Tears is pretty up there for most fucked up thing. Edit: yes, I know slavery happened, I'm not arguing that this was worse, I just named the first thing that popped into my head. Wounded Knee would be another watershed moment for awfulness. The sterilizatio of between 25 and 50% of Amerindian women of childbearing age in the 1970s. I feel like people don't talk about that genocide enough. Sandy Creek Massacre. 500 Colorado cavalry were sent to track down natives that were attacking settlers, for good reason, but that is a long story. They ended up coming to a Cheyenne village that was known to be peaceful. Its leader, Black Kettle, was a voice of peace for the natives and had even gone to Washington, D.C. to meet with President Lincoln and negotiate a lasting peace between Americans and Cheyenne. Lincoln gave him an American flag and told him that so long as it flew in their camp, no American would harm them. Anyways, this asshole Chivicto was leading the cavalry, and saw it as some kind of noble duty. After months of searching for aggressive natives and coming up empty-handed, the government ordered him to disband his force and go home. Chivicto, now faced with the prospect of his crusade being an embarrassment, decided to attack Black Kettle's village, basically just to say he did something. The Colorado cavalry attacked in the middle of the night in mid-November, while everyone was sleeping. Eyewitness accounts are terrifying, and basically women, children, and men were run down as they tried desperately to flee across a frozen river. Black Kettle ran into the middle of the battle waving the American flag and screaming that they were friends of America, but the Americans turned on him and he was forced to drop the flag and flee as well. The fact that Black Kettle survived is miraculous, but most of his clan did not, and the few that survived the battle mostly died of hypothermia and starvation from literally fleeing through a frozen river in the middle of the night. Cavalrymen raped live and dead women, including children, and cut off male and female genitals and strapped them to their horses as decorations. Black Kettle and what remained of his clan ended up getting sent to a reservation, where they mostly starved to death, and Black Kettle gave up on peace as the younger generation flocked to warlords like Roman Nose and Crazy Horse. This ended up contributing to Red Cloud's War, as did most of the other atrocities in the West. Oh, also Chivicto was known to have said, "Nits make lice," a statement that referred to his campaign of exterminating native children along with everyone else. Oh, and I'm already sure Colorado nearly elected him governor after all of this anyways. The full quote was "Kill them all, big and small. Nits make lice." In case anyone was a Chivicto sympathizer and wanted to say his words were taken out of context. They weren't. The full quote is, "Damn any man who sympathizes with Indians. I have come to kill Indians, and believe it is right and honorable to use any means under God's heaven to kill Indians. Kill and scalp all, big and little, nits make lice." I remember reading about this in my college history class. There was no mention of it before then though. Indians were and still are sometimes really treated so horribly. Edit: before I get more people commenting to correct me, I am part Indian / Native American / Indigenous, which is why I used Indian here. Yes, I know people from India are also called Indian. Yes, I know most people prefer to be called Native American. I use Indian because my family grew up calling ourselves Indian and Native American interchangeably. Yeah, American textbooks like to sweep it under the rug. Did you know that America actually formally surrendered and lost a war once? It was against Red Cloud, after they successfully drove America out of the Powder River country and demanded they never return. America actually formally surrendered, and soldiers abandoned their forts single file to go back to America. You'd think that is a pretty important piece of history, that we actually formally lost a war once. But you never read about it in any textbook. I highly recommend the book Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. It is an incredibly historically accurate account of the native wars in the West, from the Trail of Tears to the Ghost Dances and Wounded Knee Massacre. It is pretty shocking, tragic, and horrifying, but you won't find the true history really in any other American book from the time. Mainly because a lot of it is actually embarrassing, because the savage natives actually kicked the shit out of modern American armies on numerous occasions lol. Also, I visited Pine Ridge Lakota Sioux Reservation on a volunteer trip once to help build homes and stuff. It was an incredible experience, but truly eye-opening and life-changing. I highly recommend going on a similar trip if you ever find the chance. They have some of the worst poverty in America, and it is really sad but a good reality check people need to have. To this day, it is just a tragic place. It is like even 150 years later, you can feel the depression and hopelessness and suffering of the generations so long ago. At one of our sites, I was chatting with the resident trying to cheer her up, and I said to her, "Your land is beautiful. We don't see this much grass or nature anywhere in New York. All we see back home is cement." I kid you not, she silently looked around the miles and miles of just empty grass, looked back at me, and said, "It's my prison," and walked away. I have never felt so much frustration, sadness, self-hatred, and empathy all at once in my entire life before. But she was right. They can't leave. What are you gonna do, walk 200 miles across the plains until you can find the nearest city to offer you a job? Nope. You stay there with your family and try to survive by selling trinkets to the passing tourists, who are descendants of your genociders, but you smile and sell to them because it is the only way to make money and because you don't want to ruin their happy family road trip to Mount Rushmore, where they can see the faces of the great American leaders staring eternally over the land that they conquered. It is super fucked up. Back in the 50s and 60s, the US military tested several different biological weapons on and unbeknownst to the public. They specifically targeted low-income and poverty-stricken areas. They tested things from chemicals to viruses. It wasn't declassified till 10 years ago. Edit. Sources: https://www.busyasisida.com https://m.wikipedia.org/wiki https://priceyumix.com https://www.psos.com/news Edit 2. Why would they declassify it? Freedom of Information Act required them to disclose this. For years, so many people were arrested, disappeared and even dismissed as conspiracy theorists through this. I can also say that chemistry trails aren't a thing. I work aerospace and the altitude that these planes are flying wouldn't do anything. Planes would be flying much lower like crop dusters in order to make any effect. It's literally vapor and exhaust coming from the planes, and some stay longer because of the different altitudes, temps and right hand that they are flying. Edit 3. Since people are still arguing to me for chemistry trails, here is the science that debunks it. https://www.busyasisida.com They also sprayed carcinogens, nerve agents, and radioactive materials over US and Canadian cities. Edit. Since people were looking for citations. https://shiolpost.com/news/Canada https://news/2017/1007/1007/poisoned in the -50s by the us/ https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/operation_lack. I have no clue why cancer rates are through the roof. I mean, there was the time the National Guard shot and killed coal miners and their families who were being horribly exploited by coal companies, so they were striking. See also, the Ludlow Massacre. And the time they decided to routinely sterilize Native American women. And the Guatemala syphilis experiments. Don't forget the National Guard killing college students at Kent State protesting Vietnam. Edit. I get it guys, I spelled it wrong lol. We love talking about school shootings, just not that one. And the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. WTF is it with syphilis? Cut it out you guys. It's truly mind-boggling that we were doing syphilis experiments in the Tuskegee Experiment from 1932 to 1972 and in the Guatemala experiments from 1946 to 1948. We were literally doing human disease experimentation after we shut down the Nazi concentration camps where Joseph Mengele was doing human experimentation. And the US government really convinced themselves that it was completely reasonable to inject diagnose and purposely fail to treat a bunch of poor African Americans and Guatemalans with syphilis without their knowledge so they could study it and develop treatment compare how untreated syphilis ended up compared to syphilis treated with penicillin. The silencing, embarrassing, and killing of Gary Webb. Gary Webb was an investigative journalist who proved that the CIA was selling massive amounts of drugs, particularly cocaine, to typically black, poor neighborhoods all over the US. This was in order to fund an overthrow of the Nicaraguan government by US-friendly terrorists during the IATs. He was forced to resign, disgraced, blacklisted, divorced, and found dead with 2 bullets through his head in 2004. It was ruled a suicide despite the facts he owned no guns, and it being 2 bullets through the head in a suicide. Okay, so they managed to hide a drug ring for ages, but can't kill a person correctly. Dumbasses Almeo. It's left just obvious enough to serve as a warning to any others who might want to expose such things. I was never even aware of this. This whole thread has me fucked up.